This is an ad.
I hate
An ad for crisp, refreshing Angry Orchard hard cider.
That is refreshing.
An ad that interrupted your podcast.
I hate being interrupted!
To remind you to stop being angry at me and crack open an Angry Orchard.
That's a good idea.
Don't get angry. Get Orchard. Angry Orchard Cider Company, LLC. AngryOrchard.com. Please drink responsibly. Angry Orchard is a hard cider with other natural flavors.
A message from McAfee. Wondering why the post office is texting you or why you owe thousands of dollars in toll fees? Because someone's trying to scam you. The good news? McAfee can help. With McAfee's award-winning scam detection, it's easy to tell what's real and what's fake over text, in your inbox, and online. If they're
You want a free gift?
Seriously? If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no-nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease. Whether you've been dating for a while or you're just starting out, I believe dating can be fun. And if you're listening to this the week it comes out, I am currently in Paris celebrating my 1-year wedding anniversary. So today's episode is a throwback. It originally aired in April 2024, and I'm excited for you to hear it. We're talking about dating outside your type. Have you tried this yet? Does it work for you? Let me know in the comments if you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube. Either way, I think it's worth experimenting with if you are just starting to date or if you've gotten really stuck lately. This is a great way to shake things up. You're going to hear what it means to have a type, success stories from other listeners about how they dated outside their type, why dating outside of your type can work, and what I personally look for on dating apps when using this approach, which did lead me to meeting Johnny, by the way. You'll also hear why this approach is not the same as settling. And at the end of this episode, I have a fresh, hot off the press dating dilemma for you, so don't miss that. And without further ado, let's get to it. Let's get into today's topic, dating outside your type and how to navigate not feeling attracted to someone. Let's just talk about attraction really quick. I want to say up front that attraction is important. You deserve to date someone you find hot, and the person you're dating also deserves that. But here's what I've learned. You might not end up with the most attractive person you've ever dated, and that's okay, because how someone looks has very little to do with how they treat you, their emotional availability, their beliefs, their values, and their character. When we move through the world with a hot or not mindset, that kind of lens, it doesn't leave a lot of room for measuring potential matches on what really matters in a relationship. So yes, looks are important. Attraction is very important, but it's not going to be the glue that holds a relationship together for decades. You can be very attracted to someone and still feel hurt, disconnected. You could be dating a supermodel and have a horrible relationship or feel like you have nothing in common. So just keep this in mind. Attraction and looks are important. It's just not the number one thing, in my opinion. So today we're talking about dating outside your type, and I'm excited to get into this topic because it's something I hear over and over from my community that worked for them, right? Like they met their match, they got into an amazing relationship when they started looking beyond the type of person they usually went for in dating. It worked for me too. I had the same experience. Like my dating life changed for the better, for the best when I started dating the types of people that I just would normally look over. Will it work for you? Well, there are no guarantees. It could. I mean, it's worth a shot. It's always worth a try, especially if you find yourself repeating old patterns and getting to the same cycles over and over again. It's worth just trying something different. Like the worst case scenario, if you date outside your type, is you have some kind of blah or boring dates. And that's really not that bad. I want to start off with 3 success stories because I find them so heartwarming and inspiring, and I hope they inspire you. So here is the first one. I am a super outdoorsy gal. I live on a farm and have a bunch of horses, goats, chickens, all that. I do the farm work for myself, including driving the tractor and towing rigs. I drive a big truck. My type is rugged lumberjack type. Boots, jeans, and trucks. Southern man. I had been single for over 7 years when I met my boyfriend. He had a boring Hinge profile, but looked normal, and there are slim pickings here in my town, so I gave it a go. He is so not my type. He drives a Tesla, lives in the city, super well dressed and well groomed. He even gets his nails and eyebrows done. However, there literally is nothing wrong with him outside my superficial preferences. We have all the same values and our personalities mesh really well. He had never used a lawnmower before, but he jumps at every opportunity to help with farm chores because he's just that kind of guy. He went out and bought a pair of boots after our third date. That's when I knew I was locked in. I love this story. Thank you for sending this in because it's like, even though on paper this guy was not her type, he was the type of person who was open to getting into to integrating himself into her life in and learning things that he wasn't familiar with, like using a lawnmower, And she could have walked around in the world and kind of dated from a lens of, I'm not going to date you if you don't know how to use a lawnmower, and totally overlook this guy who, again, there are certain things that people can learn, right? Like our preferences really limit us in so many ways, especially superficial things like, do they know how to, tow a rig? Do they know how to drive a tractor? Like that has nothing to do with how someone will be in a relationship. But his openness and his enthusiasm that is the kind of thing that affects the relationship. So I'm glad this person dated out of their type. Thank you so much for sharing this story. Here's the second one. I've dated outside my type and found a very lovely guy. I used to be attracted to more manly, tall men. After following you, I went outside my usual type. This guy is about my height, which I would never have dated. He's boyish rather than manly, and he's absolutely so kind and considerate, amazing person. I'm so happy I met him. It took a few dates to really start to feel full attraction, but I'm really happy I went outside my type. Thank you for all your great advice. You are welcome. And again, it's like, if this didn't work out, like if this woman went on a date with this guy who she describes as boyish and not manly, worst case, it was just one date and then move on. That's really not that bad, Here is a third one. I'm a curvy girl. My type, it was usually bigger guys or at least guys bigger than me. I also tended to go for guys with big personalities where I felt tons of chemistry and a spark right away. But those relationships ended with the guy being emotionally unavailable or unable to navigate conflict once it arose. My current boyfriend has been my friend for a decade. He's thin, much thinner than me. And at first, I was self-conscious about our size difference. I was also worried that he was too boring because he never rose his voice and was always calm, predictable, and peaceful. But I knew I wanted a different type of life than the one I had been living, so I stuck it out. It'll be a year next week, and I can't believe I've ever dated any other type of person. Again, I'm so happy for this listener sharing this story about how she went and dated someone who she would have never dated, and it ended up being such a peaceful relationship. That's what I'm hoping that many of you get to experience, like that peace, the calm, the stability, the security. And it may not be with the type of person that you always saw yourself ending up with in your head visually, right, on the surface. So I hope these stories inspired you. If you have a story, you can send it to me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. I'd love to hear it. So what is a type? When we say type, well, what are we talking about? The way I define it, your type is the person you typically date or who you are usually attracted to. And there are two categories of having a type. There's physical. So that's going to be physical attributes you're attracted to, like facial features, height, hair, body, build, stuff like that. Sometimes race, obviously. And then there's going to be stereotypes. And I wish I had a better term for this, but it's going to be things like that you could find on a Hinge profile, right? Maybe their job or their religion or the type of school they went to. Or if you saw a picture of them, what lunch table they would sit at in high school, like as if we're in a movie fantasy, if life was a high school movie or something. But that is the second kind of type. Like I used to go for tech guys or I like cowboys, So those are the two categories of having a type. And I believe that your type can change over time. Also, I think some people don't have a type. So if you don't have one, that's fine. But a lot of us do. And you can figure it out by looking back on who you typically find attractive, who you've dated, even like thinking about celebrities or influencers you find attractive. Like, do they have a physical feature or quality that they all have in common? That is going to be your type. I also have a dating outside my type success story, and I have a few posts about this on Instagram and I'll link them in the show notes below, but I created a scale for myself called the Jason to Bradley scale to describe my type. So my type is somewhere between Jason Segel, who He is from, if you don't know him, he's from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He's like the guy. He has short hair. He has more of a dad bod. He's goofy. And then we have on the other side, Bradley Cooper, who is more rugged, muscular, and classically handsome. So I dated guys who were more on the Bradley side of the spectrum, and I dated guys who were more on the Jason side. And I realized these are two white men, but I did date Asian, Indian, Black, and Latin men throughout my journey too. I liked dating outside my race, and I definitely encourage people to do that as well. But anyway, I'd always been attracted to men who like are kind of between these two types of guys, like kind of dad bod versus like more chiseled. And when it comes to women, because I'm bi, I don't think I have a type. I've always been attracted to women across the board physically, and I think women are beautiful and pretty easy to be attracted to physically. So in terms of stereotypes, the other category, I have rarely ever been attracted to men who pursue creative careers and the arts. Like some women go crazy for a guy who is in a band. But that's never, like if I hear if a guy's in a band, like that's really kind of just, I'm like, no, I'm good. And I don't know why it's never been attractive to me for some reason. And if you're in a band and you're a guy listening to this, like please do not like take what I'm saying with a massive grain of salt. I'm just one person. And like I said, there are many people who'd be very attracted to that. I've always gone for more guys who are more into tech, science, engineering. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm really creative and I feel like I want to balance. I mean, who knows? Art can be technical too, right? Anyway, I also went through a whole phase of dating comedians until I realized I don't need to date a comedian to date someone who makes me laugh. And look, we like what we like. If you're listening to this again, if I described you, remember that this is my individual preference and it has nothing to do with you or your worth as a human. You know, I fully believe that you are someone's type. We can't be everyone's type. We can't be liked by everyone, but you are someone's type. Someone's going to be into exactly who you are and like the whole package because you've got it. I asked the Instagram community what your type was, and you delivered. Here are some of my favorite ones. We've got Captain America. Unfortunately, Chris Evans is off the market now. Preppy nerd. A lot of you said tall, dark, handsome, and emotionally unavailable. I think emotionally unavailable is a type for a lot of us. Finance bro, boy next door, nerdy bad boy. Don't know what that means, but okay. This one was particularly interesting. He presents Republican, but is actually progressive. Don't know what that means, but okay. Glad you know what you like. Outgoing, sleazy-ish fuckboy. Okay. One woman wrote in, lesbian here. I like mask presenting, athletic body, stylish is a must for women. Okay. Got a lot of lumberjack. That's a whole type for a lot of women, I think. Spiritual, sexy, hyper masculine, engineer types. Someone just wrote alive, which is, I think, too broad of a type, but I feel you. Another of my favorite ones was hobbit with facial hair. I just love that someone out there is like, my type is hobbit. Love it. And if you don't know what hobbit is, just short men with curly hair, I suppose. East Coast Italian, very specific. Nerdy, athletic, and tall Asian men. Blue collar and is probably going hunting over Thanksgiving type of guy. Okay. Chubby, big build, dad vibes, surfer types, and men with Delta status. So those are some of your types, and you can see there's so much range. I love the range here. Naturally, many women said tall, and we'll talk about that later, but we really need to get over the height thing in dating. It's holding us back. So I'd love to hear from you. You can share in the comments below on Spotify or YouTube. What is your type? Let us know. You can also reach out to me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. Would love to hear from you. Let's talk about why dating outside your type works. So first of all, sometimes what is familiar is not actually good for us in a relationship because we can sometimes subconsciously try to repeat negative, toxic, traumatic dynamics with people unknowingly, kind of it's subconscious to create a different outcome. So if something feels familiar, that's not always a good thing. It might feel like a past relationship that didn't work out. It might feel like a relationship with a caregiver that was not healthy for you or didn't end up being supportive and loving. So just because you have a type doesn't mean that that type of person is going to be the best match for you. And sometimes a type is a pattern, right? If you keep going for the same type of person and it never works out, it might be worth trying to get to know a new type of person. And this is why it works. I think it breaks us out of our patterns and it breaks us out of what's familiar, and it can get us into new situations with different people that we would have never met because we would have just looked over them because they weren't our type. And finally, it also just increases your chances of finding a mate. You can date outside your type and date your type at the same time. You don't have to like never date a lumberjack type again if that's your if that's your thing, and go for the nerdy bad boys or whatever that is. Like, you can just broaden your horizons a little bit and you'll have many more potential dates and matches just because you're going to be looking at different people. And you might find you really enjoy it. You never know until you try.
Optimism isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's fixing things, changing the way we fix things. It's running the world on smarter energy. Because if optimism never stops, then change can't either. GE Vernova, the energy of change.
Whoa! That was a bop! Ooh, let's keep the party going with the Claptrap Public Domain Serenade! Happy birthday to you! Let's all loot and shoot! Ba-ba-doo-doo! Borderlands 4! Well, that kind of fell apart toward the end. But you get the idea. Borderlands 4 is out now! Buy it! Buy it, buy it, buy it!
Rated M for mature.
So here's how I dated outside my type. And I hope this helps you kind of figure it out. When I was looking to date and get into a relationship, I was using dating apps. And for me, dating outside my type looked like looking for clues on people's profiles that showed me that we would have things to talk about. So I wasn't looking at photos so much. I wasn't looking at their appearance. I was like, okay, using the prompt information and any other information I could get, do we have things we could have a 45-minute conversation about? Like books, music, movies, travel, food, passions, like opinions, just things that you can just chat about for 30, 45 minutes. Like, is that there? And then for the photos, I'd be like, okay, do they look normal? Like, do they just look like a normal average person? Like, I really think going for the medium attractiveness is fine on the dating apps for anyone listening. Most people, especially men, look better in person anyway. Like, they don't necessarily have all the pictures to choose from. Like, women were constantly taking pictures. Guys don't. Small side note, my brother told me he was just on a bachelor trip in San Diego and there were many opportunities for new pictures for his profile, but he didn't feel comfortable asking anyone because he didn't want to be that guy. It's just a different vibe. So keep that in mind when looking at people, especially men, looking at their profile pictures on the apps. Those pictures just might not be their best because they don't have enough pictures to like even put their best foot forward. Anyway, I was looking more for just what do we have in common? And of course, I was looking at other important criteria like if they were a smoker or not, or, stuff like that. That got me more matches, including my fiance, who I almost didn't swipe right on. I was looking at his profile and it was just very bland. Like, he talked about books, music, movies he liked on TV and stuff. And his pictures, he looked normal. And I thought, okay, I literally didn't have a reason to swipe left, so I just swiped right? When I went on dates, I went in looking to have a good time and good conversation, which again has nothing to do with looks. You can have a great conversation on the phone without even seeing that person. I was just looking to find the connection points, find what we have in common, see if we can even have just a fun conversation. I looked for compatibility clues, and I believe you can have chemistry with so many types of people, but I don't think you can be as compatible with many types of people. I can have chemistry with a lot of different people, but compatibility is just a different story. I had a great time with many people who didn't have the physical qualities I normally went for, but like the date was fun, right? It was just that was the point. And this doesn't mean I went for guys I thought were ugly, as if only men who look like Bradley Cooper or Jason Segel are attractive. Like, there are so many different versions of what is attractive. And we just heard this from the list of people's types. Like, my fiance has long hair, a big beard, and he's skinny. He's not even on my scale. I had this dumb rule that I wasn't going to date anyone with red hair because my brother has red hair, which is like so dumb. Just literally taking out a huge percentage, not huge, but a good chunk of my dating pool based on hair color. It just doesn't make sense. And when I met my fiance, I thought he was a good looking guy, just not what I normally go for. I didn't have to convince myself that he was attractive. Like, I knew on paper, you were an attractive person. And at this point, we are very attracted to each other. And for me, and I know not everyone's like this, but for me, true attraction and desire just takes time to build. I rarely feel true instant attraction for anyone. There's a difference between instantly thinking someone is hot, like, oh, that's like a good looking person, and feeling desire for them, like, I want to go to bed with this person. They're two different things. So to recap, how I date outside my type, I focus on finding things in common with people on the dating apps. I focus on having fun conversations. And I trusted that eventually that attraction would come with people who I enjoyed being around and respected and trusted. And that's how it happened. When you date someone outside your type, don't expect to want to rip their clothes off right away. Don't overthink it if you're not attracted to them. And we'll get into that in a little bit. You can't be attracted to everyone right away. So try to give people a chance. You never know what can happen. So one question that comes up a lot with this topic is that why is it a common belief that dating outside your type is settling? Dating outside your type does not mean lowering your standards. It really is more about opening your possibilities and understanding that if you're dating for long term, you might need to reorganize your priorities. Like I said, it's important to find someone you find attractive. It's like you need that. You can't date someone you don't find attractive. But to find a long-term partner, you might need to open your mind to the possibility of that you might find other types of people attractive. Maybe you might. Like, it's possible for you. Just because it has never happened doesn't mean it's not possible. I'm not saying you need to force yourself to be into people you're not into either. It's just opening your mind to the possibility. Like, if you're swiping right on 10% of people you see, try swiping right on 15%. So see the difference? When you're dating outside your type, you're not swiping on everyone. It's just 5% more. It's a little bit more open. You can still be selective and be more open at the same time. Look beyond facial features. Please, women, look beyond height. I swear to God. A bunch of my guests have talked about this, dating outside your type, like how the fixation on height and how that's a problem. Alana Dunn talked about this, how she met her fiance wasn't her type. Evan Marquette and Damona Hoffman, who are both well-known coaches who've been doing this for like 2 decades, both talked about the benefits of dating people who you aren't typically into. So you can go back and listen to those episodes if you need more help with this topic. So let's talk about what to do if you don't feel attracted to someone. You've dated outside your type, you've met people, you've given it a few dates, and the attraction just isn't there. The general rule of thumb is to give it 3 dates, no more. Okay, give it to 3 dates and try to make one of those dates dynamic, meaning don't have all those dates where you're just sitting and drinking or just walking. Like, do something fun. Sometimes seeing someone in a new environment or a different light can spark attraction. So for me and my fiance, it was going to a comedy show. That for some reason got me just really in the mindset of being open and feeling very attracted to him on our 3rd date. So just try it. Again, 3 dates. You deserve to be with someone who you're attracted to, and the person you're dating deserves someone who is attracted to them. So if at 3 dates, cut it off. Don't feel guilty for cutting things off. Like, I hear this message so often of like, oh my God, they're so great. They check all my boxes, but I'm not feeling attracted. That's okay. Attraction is a box that needs to be checked in this scenario. So if it's not there, you gave it a shot, you gave it a chance, and then you cut them loose. The worst is when I hear, I've been dating someone for 6 months, I'm not attracted to them. Whew. Like, cut that off immediately. That's 6 months of wasted time. If it's not there in 3 dates, it's probably not really going to be there. So just cut it off, move on. You can use one of the anti-ghost texts in my profile on Instagram. It's pinned right there for you, and keep going. And like I said up top, attraction is important, but it's not the most important. It's not the number one thing you need in a relationship to have a successful relationship. When I hear people say they won't even go on a first date with someone they're not attracted to, I know their mind is in the wrong place for dating for long term. Also, consider you're not going to be attracted to your partner every day of your life. You can marry someone today who you think is the most beautiful person in the world. And there's going to be days where they annoy the hell out of you. Or you're going to see them on the couch in what I call gremlin mode with their sweats on and like they're covered in popcorn crumbs. And, that's not going to be their best look. So, and yes, I'm describing myself. So some days. So just remember, like, attraction is just you're not going to feel it at the same level every day. You're going to have different seasons of your life that you go through with a long-term partner where you just might not be as into them. And, looks fade. this is another reason why we need to deprioritize. Again, we're not taking it off the list, but just deprioritize, move it down the list a little bit, because looks do fade, change over time. Our bodies develop as we age, and there's sagging and there's wrinkles and there's graying and balding, all kinds of things. So it just can't be the number one priority. And I think rejecting an amazing match because they're like 3 inches shorter than what you thought is going to hurt you in the long run, really. Their physical features have absolutely nothing with their ability to show up for you. What's the point of attraction, right? Is the point of feeling attracted to someone and having attraction in a relationship, it's part of like the sexual part of the relationship, or is it more that's a whole question I've never really thought about. But I do think about sex in the context of a relationship and like just where that fits in. It is such a small slice of a relationship, right? Like think about how much time you're just spending interacting with your partner, just sitting across the table at lunch, or making coffee in the morning or doing chores, talking about plans. Like you're not having sex all the time. Sex is a small portion of the relationship. And I know that attraction goes beyond the bedroom, like obviously. That's why I'm always saying to reorganize your priorities here, because the interactions, like the friendship, the companionship you have with your partner is more important than the attraction and chemistry and like sexual connection you have. But when we're dating, it's like kind of low hanging fruit. It's easier to tap into that attraction because it's surface level. Like it's just right there in front of you. And where the companionship, the trust, or the knowing someone just takes longer. So we don't have access to that immediately. So I understand like why we feel this is so important in early dating, because it's one of the few things we can kind of just tell right away when we're talking to someone new. So I challenge you to date outside your type, to tap into things you have in common, compatibility, and all that stuff over sexual, physical chemistry and all that stuff first. And I hope that this inspires you to go on dates with people you wouldn't normally go for, to swipe right on people you wouldn't normally swipe right on. You never know what's going to happen.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
Let's get into today's dating dilemma. By the way, you can submit a dating dilemma of your own in the show notes. I have a link there for you. Thank you to everyone who has submitted. When you share your dilemmas that you are going through right now, it makes other people feel less alone, and we can all learn from each other. So thank you for submitting. All right. A couple months ago, I, 25 female, was introduced via text to someone, 25 male, through mutual friends. In his first message, he mentioned he was new to the city and that our mutual friend thought we might hit it off as friends. We started texting regularly, and his messages were consistently sweet, warm, genuine, and thoughtful. He seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me on a deeper level. It felt like he wouldn't just text anyone this way, though I'm still getting to know him, so I can't be sure. About 2 weeks later, he attended a yoga class I was teaching in the park and later suggested a bike ride, knowing I enjoy biking. During the ride, he asked thoughtful questions, and it felt like a date to me. Afterwards, his texting slowed and his messages felt less warm. When I brought it up, he said texting is draining and that he has had a busy summer. He said he expects to have more time to connect once school starts. I find this hard to believe since his earlier texts were long and detailed, and I would expect he'd be busier during school, not less busy. I've lived with anxiety and depression for many years, and much of my time and energy has gone to managing that, so I've never dated. Knowing he has faced his own mental health challenges adds a sense of shared understanding and makes this connection more meaningful. I really want to keep our connection alive, and I understand it may not become romantic, but the shift in energy has been disappointing. He made me feel really seen, heard, understood, and appreciated, which are all experiences I've longed for, but now I no longer feel that as much. My questions: how can I avoid becoming overly attached to someone whose feelings or availability are unclear? Could this connection grow romantically, or is it more likely to remain a friendship? How can I keep expectations realistic while nurturing the connection without becoming overly hopeful? Great questions. Thank you for submitting this one. I really like this dilemma and I hope that my thoughts can help. So, I want to kind of call out and kind of say the thing that you're not saying here. And that is that you've got a little crush on this guy. And it's okay to want more than friendship with someone. You don't need to hope to only remain friends, and you're allowed to hope for more. And we know it's a crush because right off the bat, you are kind of pulling meaning out of things. And I'm not saying that's bad, it's normal. It's just that you're reading into the situation and you're looking for romantic interest on his part when you were introduced in the context of friends, like a platonic introduction. So it can be a little confusing. This guy is giving you attention, he's making you feel seen and heard. These are things you've wanted. So it makes sense that you are kind of attaching a certain outcome, a desired outcome to this friendship because he's giving you things you haven't experienced before and these are things you want and you want more of it. So it makes sense. And I want to point this out though because if you didn't like him the way you like him, you probably wouldn't care as much about his shift in energy um or just not being as available. Maybe you would. Again, I guess it varies on the person, but I feel like it wouldn't be as much of a it wouldn't be so jarring emotionally. You say you want to keep your connection alive, but I really suggest getting clear on what kind of connection that is. Do you mean friendship or do you want to pursue a romantic connection? Get really clear on this. And it's okay if you think you're better off as friends and you can just be friends. But, if you want a romantic connection, own that. To answer your questions, so let's get into your questions. How do you not become overly attached? My advice is to stay in reality. Right now, again, you were introduced in the context of friends. You were not dating. Even though you felt like you went on a date, it wasn't a date. No one said it was a date, right? So you need to, again, pull yourself into this reality. He is showing up in the context of friendship and you don't like it. You're kind of like, okay, I don't get the shift in energy. I kind of feel brushed off. You can feel that way in a friendship too, and that's not great. So I would say, again, just going back to your question, stay grounded in reality and recognize that you wanted to feel certain things like feeling appreciated, understood, and seen before this guy came into your life. And he's not the only way you are going to feel those things. He's not the only person who's going to make you feel those things in your whole life. So that's another reminder to kind of stay grounded in reality. Could it grow romantically? Yes, if there's mutual interest. And one way to find that out is by making your interests known. How do you keep your expectations realistic while still nurturing the connection? Look, my advice is to see, number one, if he is actually down to hang out again and if you actually have another friend hang out together. And during that time, if you're able to hang out again, bring up the topic of dating and ask him if he's single. See where it goes, right? Just you can broach this topic of dating. You can say, I listened to a dating podcast. You can bring up podcasts. It's a pretty easy segue into the topic. And you can see how he responds. If he kind of dodges it or says that he's not dating right now, or whatever, you have your answer. Okay, he's not interested, he's just not dating, whatever it is. You can kind of draw that line in your mind of like, okay, this is not a romantic connection. But if he has more open energy and is open to talking about it and seems into the conversation and wants to talk about dating, you can be brave and ask him out. But it's also, that's like level 5. That's like really, really risky, and I don't need you to put yourself out there like that. If you want to, you can also text him. If you get to this point, I'm just playing it out. If you hang out, he seems open to the dating conversation, you can text him and just say that you'd be open to going on a date if he is, or something like that. Let it play out. And I just kind of gave you an example of the path to go from dating to more. But I really want you to remember that he is not the only person you're going to connect with in your entire life. He's not the only person who's going to make you feel seen, appreciated, and understood. So it's great that you know that you want these things, but just don't paint this picture of, oh my gosh, I need to make it work with this person because he made me feel these things. You can feel these things with other people. I hope this helps. Let us know what happens. Please give us an update if you're listening. We would love to know how this plays out. And I want to thank you so much for listening. Thanks for trusting me. Don't forget, you're doing great. If you know someone who is navigating dating and could use a confidence boost or fresh perspective, please share this episode with them. And if this podcast has helped you, a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify goes a long way for me. Once again, I'm Talia. This is Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you next time.